All right. So welcome this morning. Welcome to Wealth Building Network. And I appreciate everybody coming. Today we've got Joe Sullivan, famous direct to seller guy here. I'm excited to hear him share his story, tell a little bit about what he's been doing. Maybe he'll let us do some Q&A afterwards. But yeah, he's partners with Marco and Chris Jackson and has done a lot of deals with them. So I'm excited to hear what you've got to say. So
Yeah, thanks for having me. I do. I'm not sure how my internet connection is here. I'm not at home, so um, I might have to switch over to my phone if you guys tell me I'm lagging quite a bit.
so far it's been pretty good.
Okay, right on. Yeah. Thanks for having me. See, I'll give a background on my story, and then I'd rather just do interactive Q&A. I don't like speaking for extended amounts of time, so I'd rather do the Q&A. Um, but yeah, I live in Kansas City. I think as you might have mentioned or we talked about earlier, Alaska right now actually for Easter weekend. Oh shoot, I think I might have stopped. You guys still hear me?
Yeah.
we can still hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
All right, good. Um, and so I started investing in real estate. I guess it'd be about 5 years ago. Started small with duplexes and single families, as a lot of people do, and kind of hit a wall. I was doing virtually everything myself, mowing the lawn, some of the maintenance, all the wrong things the things you shouldn't do. I was doing. Had a bit of an aha moment when I burnt my thumb on a lawnmower carburetor, and I just kind of had enough. So went to the drawing board, overconsumed podcasts and books and you name it to try to figure out a way to do it, a better way to do it and scale, and end up joining Jake and Gino. See, a lot of you guys are in Jake and Gino, and meeting a bunch of my partners and just getting in the right room and figuring out a better way to partner and scale. And that was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And took me about a year from there to do my first deal, with partners, a bigger deal with partners. It was a really slow slog and grind. Like, it was really, really challenging. Couldn't find deals, it was scared to death to find money. It had tons of limiting beliefs. We just, stuck with the process, and found that first deal. And then, I think, is it Michael Blanc or one of those guys calls it the law of the first deal. And it was very real. Like, as soon as I got the first one, the next one came a few months later. And then it was just like a deal every other month or so. And then it was connecting and getting connected and with people who could help me offset my weaknesses, which were, raising capital and, putting deals together, because I had never done it. So that group, and just being in the right team and in the right circle, really put me in a position to scale quickly. So, fast forward now, a combination of syndications and JVs. I'm around 1,400 units as a GP, and got a few a few JV deals under contract right now. So, yeah, just kind of off to the races. I did leave one thing out. I just realized I am married with 4 daughters. So I don't know why I always lead with that, but for some reason I left that out. Yeah, and now I'm just trying to figure out what the kind of the next phase of my business is. So really enjoyed the JV deals. They're very powerful. I like syndications, but JV deals have been really, really strong for me. So making a slight pivot and trying to do more of those, as much as possible. And yeah, that's so. You want to start doing some Q&A?
I
there's
have
a
a
lot.
question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Shumrita, and I joined Mastermind with my husband in February for the March batch. So my question is, you mentioned you had a lot of limiting beliefs in the beginning. So can you tell us, what your limiting beliefs were and how you crushed them?
Yeah, well, I come from a very middle class or lower middle class family. Everybody, most of my family are teachers, almost all of them really. So no one really had money when I was growing up. Um, I had a very loving home, so don't get me wrong, we lived a good life, but definitely didn't have money to do things. And so the idea of buying a apartment complex was just it was a dream essentially. So my biggest limiting belief was surrounding money. Um, I personally didn't have a lot. My family didn't have a lot. So how the hell was I gonna buy a $5 million apartment complex? That was the biggest one. And then I think just having partners in general. Who would want to? How could I add value to these people who are, either much more well capitalized, or even 10 15 years ahead of me in their in their investment journey. So those are the two biggest ones.
So, so can you also tell us a little bit about the first deal with partners that you did? What was it? What was it that you learned from it? Were there any challenges, major challenges, or mistakes that you made that you wouldn't want us to repeat?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I don't regret anything about it because it was a incredible deal. We got all our money back in like 14 months. So, and it's still cash flowing really, really well. So I wouldn't say I regret anything, but there are some things I would do differently. Well, first of all, I'll just give you the background. So I got a deal. It was a direct to seller deal. It was a 44 unit. Bought it with, there were five of us, five partners. And I got it from a friend. So it was actually a friend of mine. So what had done is I just started telling everybody what I was doing. And a really good friend of mine said, "Hey, I was actually talking to my, somebody I know, and his uncle has an apartment complex that they're wanting to offload." So I went and met this guy, and we had some mutual connections, so that was good. But he was a jewelry shop owner in Lawrence, Kansas. And so we went and met him and his wife at their house. He handed me a box of rent rolls, like I'm talking paper, not like rent rolls, and a lot of things were handwritten, and said, "Hey, here's all the information. Take a look. If you want to go look, tour it." And he didn't know. Really just didn't know what he was doing. He just bought an apartment complex because he had money, and he thought that that's what you're supposed to do when you have money. So, so we put it under contract. Ended up getting it for like, I think it was 39 a door. Really, incredible basis. We executed the plan. It was a pretty significant rehab. Rents were, basically doubled the rents effectively, and pulled our money out and put it into non-recourse debt. Wasn't it? That was a really quick summation of it. It wasn't that easy, but that's how it went. Things I would do differently. We brought in a couple partners that I didn't know very well, and they haven't helped at all, candidly. So I would have vetted the partners a lot closer. That was also part of my limiting beliefs. They had, they're guys, a couple guys from New York who had money, and at the time, I just, I thought that was what you do. You just take the money if they offer it to you. But now in hindsight, the deal is actually more valuable than the money now. Money flows pretty effortlessly when you have a good deal. So that's something I would have done differently. And I didn't do any kind of acquisition fee or asset management fee. Yeah, Nico, the New Yorkers. But I didn't do anything like that, and I ended up putting in a lot of work, and not that nobody else did, but there's only so much you can do from afar. So I probably would have put some type of asset management fee for myself or small acquisition fee, just to, because there's a lot of times when you're boots on the ground and you're going to the property, like on the weekend or something, because there's an emergency or something like that I regretted, like, oh man, I'm getting this similar equity split as people who aren't, who are on a call once a month. But it was the first deal, so I'm not, no regretting, just a few lessons learned that I would do differently.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey,
I'm
Joe,
wondering, Joe. Hey, Joe. Yeah, just wondering, were you full-time doing real estate during your entire journey, or did you have a full-time job plus your 4 kids and doing the real estate? Just wondering, what did that look like, and then what was the transition, or when
Yeah,
you
so
decided to transition?
yeah, I can give you that. I worked for the same job out of school, same company for 12 years. It was like a mid upper level operations for a facility management company, and so I traveled a lot. I covered a big territory in the Midwest, and I left that it wasn't even 2 years ago. I guess it was the summer, 2 years in July. It'll be 2 years. So I was doing I was doing two jobs basically. I was doing my job that was pretty demanding, and then just getting up earlier than everybody else, staying up later than everybody else, working weekends, doing whatever I had to do to find deals and network and connect with people. So yeah, it was like working two jobs for 2 years or so. And then the reason I left, the kind of the point of deciding to leave was when I got close to replacing my income. And then I don't remember exactly how close, but we had some money in the bank. We had some money in savings, and we had a deal under contract. And I just had finally, because the company I'd worked for is just like a typical big corporation. They were laying a lot of people off. I was at that point, and like my salary was getting to a point where I was more of a number to them, and finally just sat down with my wife, obviously, and then decided that we were going to bet on ourselves, essentially. And just bet on ourselves and decided that, hey, we have a little bit of a gap to get there, but we're going to do it. And we have to tighten up at home or something like that, but we're going to figure it out. And I didn't want to have a regret someday that I didn't do it. And like, I did like the worst case scenario in my head. So it was like, worst case scenario is we have to sell our house and move in with family, which would not be fun, but there's a lot of people who are in a lot worse situations than that. So that was the logic. It was like, well, we can get by with that. And then if real estate doesn't work out, then you go back and get another job like you had before. So yeah, just did the worst case scenario and just bet on ourselves.
Thanks.
Hey, Joe, I have a question. I know you're involved in a lot of syndications, but you're recently making the transition to the pivot to more JV deals. Talk a little bit about that and what you necessarily look for in a partner for a particular JV deal you're considering.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I want to be clear, I'm still going to do some syndications just because I only have so much of my own cash. It runs out of it. You know, if you do enough deals that you start running out. um, so yeah, what I look for in a JV deal, or partners, I'm sorry, is, you know, somebody who, you know, obviously you need help with capital. You know, that's one. And then somebody who can help me with things that I'm not, you know, my weak points, or things or frankly, things I don't like doing in in some cases. Like for me, a lot of it's the back end stuff, like, working with the CPAs, working with the bookkeepers, getting organized. Well, essentially, a lot of the asset management piece for me. Um, I understand it all. I've done it all. I just, at this point, it's something I don't really enjoy, and I know it now. So you know, I know my strengths, and looking for somebody who can help with that um, is super valuable to me.
Yeah,
Is there a certain vetting process that you do with your JV? Do you have to know them for a certain amount of time? Do you do background checks?
I don't do background checks, only because the people that I've worked with are only people that I've known through, you know, various, you know, so either through Jake and Gino or through a mastermind. And you know, I do a lot of research online about them, but just no actual background check. I do know some people who do that, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like if there's a situation where I don't know them and they're, you know, they're a friend of a friend kind of thing, I think that would make a lot of sense. But so far, all the JV partners I've had have been in one of the masterminds that I'm in, and or they're the person vouching for them I trust, you know, like a family member.
that's kind of what I was going to ask too, is you had mentioned about, you know, you wish you had vetted some of your partners before a little bit better, if there was anything specific you meant, but pretty much just checking them out a little bit better, getting better references.
Yeah, and the people that I'm referring to on the first deal, they're not bad people. They're actually really pleasant. They just aren't active. So
Mhm.
they just, you know, they got like a JV deal, but like an LP activity. So it's just that was it. It was just regretting that, but they're not. Yeah, they haven't done anything bad. They just don't help.
Mhm. I'm also curious. So, like, you kind of, it seems like you've gravitated towards this direct to seller type thing. Is that something that you kind of knew when you got into real estate that was your strength? How did you kind of figure out where you were really good at? Just experimenting in all the different areas? What did that look
Well,
like?
it was actually something I didn't want to do when I started, but I got into Jake and Gino, and I was like, well, how the heck am I going to add value?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to realize that Midwest markets are typically cash flowing markets. And after just talking to people for a half a year, going to all the events, meeting as many people as possible, I realized that there's actually a ton of value in finding these deals. So I leaned in really hard. My coach at the time, Darren Light, a lot of you guys might know, good friend of mine too. He really encouraged me to stop doing anything besides trying to find deals. Like he was really adamant because I was building out like an investor database. I was trying to do everything. Like I was trying to build everything, all in a 6 month period. And he finally, he's just like, you need to, you're getting distracted. The way you can get in deals and add value is by finding deals. And he said, don't do anything else. And he encouraged me. He said he'd help me put together the team and do all those other things. But he said, without a deal, what you're doing is just a waste of time. You're just so. So I listened to what he said, which is very smart, and started to dive in head first to finding deals. It was very uncomfortable for me. I'm an introvert, so I had to get way out of my comfort zone. And I did, and that's, I hear people say that a lot. Like that's usually where usually where you need to lean into, is, something that that feels unnatural or uncomfortable.
Mhm. So do you like it now? Have you grown to like it, or is it still just, kind of something you do?
I don't like the cold calling, so that's like the worst for me, but I do enjoy, if getting a lead and going and meeting a seller. I do enjoy that. So
Mhm.
I think it's just all the crap work up front is, I don't know if I'll ever enjoy doing cold calling.
Mhm.
That'd be pretty tough for me to to ever get around to.
So Joe,
Yeah.
I'll let you
Uh,
guys go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go. Then I'll.
Okay. I was going to ask you, Joe, can you, give us a typical script of, what you use when you cold call people for direct to seller?
Yeah, I don't do it anymore, but I'll tell you. So, the first thing I say is I say their name, their first name. So that usually throws them off guard a little bit. Like it kind of gets them. So like I'll say, Alex, hi, this is Joe. I'm a local investor, and I see that you own whatever property, and it's a beautiful property. You got to know something about it. Don't um, make sure you understand where it's at. So have some background on it, and then just say I'm trying to connect with other investors in the area and seeing if you would be up for getting together. So the whole goal for me is to get face to face. The phone call is just a means to get face to face. Unless you're in front of them face to face, is really really challenging. So like actually Vlad's on here. Hey Vlad, he has a really good example of what he did, and how so he did a cold call on a deal in Kansas City. I didn't know he was doing it because him and I'm his coach, but he did a cold call. I didn't know he was cold calling Kansas City, but he called a guy, got a hold of him, and the guy, and Vlad's like, yeah, my partner, he can meet you. So Vlad called me and said, hey, can you meet this guy? So the guy didn't believe. Basically, when I met the guy, he's like, I thought this is bogus. But the whole point is that he broke him down, but then he had somebody meet him. And then once I met him and we spent, the day, half a day together, touring his property and spending time with him. We wouldn't had coffee, that was the key, was to get in front of him. So if you're out of state and you're cold calling, make sure you have somebody local that's a partner or somebody that can actually go and shake their hands. Like that's real, especially in the Midwest. It's really important. A lot of these guys or gals have owned these properties for a lot of years. It's their baby. It's their pride and joy. They don't want somebody, with all due respect, Nico, they don't want somebody from New York calling them and telling them they're going to, offer them this price. It sets them off, candidly. So have somebody local that can help. That's a I think a key ingredient a lot of people miss is the face to face. Don't be afraid. Don't hide behind the computer.
I don't want to call him, Joe. Thank you.
And Joe, who does the calls now?
Well, Vlad helps me some,
Okay.
and then I have a couple other guys. I don't do the calls now.
I'm looking into putting together. I have a couple callers that I use for my office, and I'm learning the DTS system. So I'm going to put them to use for direct to seller calling when they're not calling patients at the office.
Oh.
And calling, people that we have connections with boots on the ground. So I will really, thank you for sharing how you do it.
Let's
But,
talk. Yeah. You want
Yeah.
to call Kansas City?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're it's kind of trial and error right now.
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's the best way to do it, because I know it's, from what I've heard over the last couple of years, it's you either find the deal or you find the money for the deal. Hell, if I could find the money for the deal, why not put my team to work and start finding deals as well?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the deal's the first step. I mean, I learned that early on. If you don't have the deal, none of the rest of it doesn't matter. You can have as much money as you want. And then there's a lot in between, but the last is the capital. So those are the two main components of putting one to get a deal together.
okay, let's schedule a chat.
Let's do it. Yeah,
schedule a call.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's definitely an imperfect system. I mean, other good. I've met sellers through brokers too. Buy a deal through a broker introduces you to the seller. What you don't do is you don't cut the broker out of the next deal, but you get to know them. It's okay to, if you're buying a big enough property, it's okay to give somebody a commission. It's like an acquisition. It's part of your acquisition fee. So don't be shy about that. Like I met a developer through. We bought a deal from a developer through a broker, and now we got 2 more deals under contract with this developer, and he wants to sell another one. So he saw that we could perform. He likes we went to dinner. We had steak dinner together. But don't cut the broker out, because but the point is that we met face to face. So it's like we're the first ones they call. I was the first one they called when they had the next deal, and it was like, hey, you're going to get the first shot of this. We're not going to list it. Here's his price. Take a look. And you don't get that if you're not meeting him. And frankly, for this guy, it's just being a good person and being a man of your word. That was really what was important to him.
Joe,
how's it? Go ahead, Sati.
Yeah. So I joined Mastermind with Somrita and Lauren in March. And Joe, so we'll be meeting you next week with Carlos and Jeff on Thursday.
Oh, you guys are coming?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I think we have you on our schedule, so for dinner.
Yeah, we're going to dinner or maybe late lunch.
Yeah.
Yep, Thursday. Yeah, Carlos called me yesterday. Awesome.
Yeah. So I think we'll learn about the KC market. So I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're trying to explore South Carolina market a little bit. I think I know that it's growing. I did talk to Vlad too about that. How do we start when you are trying to explore a new market? Like I know we talked to Abhishek Parikh is here, which is local boots on the ground. I think we tried to talk to a few of the brokers, get the contact so that we can go and meet. What other things we should be looking for when you're trying to explore the market for the very first time?
Well, we bought in Columbus, Ohio. So we did this. So, so you just got to show up. You got to go and immerse yourself, go to the restaurants, meet with as many brokers as you can. I mean, that's what I met with a dozen brokers in 2-day period. It was really intense, but meet with as many as you can. Go out to eat, go to happy hour, find out where the action is. You can feel it in a city. If you spend enough time there, you can kind of feel where the path of progress is. Obviously do your research online. That's stating the obvious stuff there, but like for me, it's more about the feel. And just don't try to do it. Don't hide behind a computer is my point. So show up, shake hands with people, meet the brokers, meet contractors too. So try to introduce yourselves to different contractors, a general contractor, property management companies, unless you're going to self-manage, but property management companies, they'll tell you where to buy and not to buy.
Okay.
Yeah, what kind of systems do you use to schedule out those visits? So, as the example you used, Vlad made the contact to the owner. Now I'm on the phone with the owner. Yeah, I'd love to go out to coffee, take a look at your property, et cetera, et cetera. How are you coordinating that? Is Vlad going into a database that has kind of like, all right, Mondays and Wednesdays between 12 and 4, Joe has scheduled just in case I have something for him to go look at? Or is it, let me coordinate with my partner and I'll get back to you? Like, what have you found flows the best?
Yeah, I'm not that sophisticated, candidly. So it's more of it was like a text or a call. Hey, when are you available? Do you have a window this week to go out here and do this? So it's really that. I mean, that'd be probably the vision, is to get to a point where, but the other side of it is like, you don't get that many of those. You don't get like cold calls where you can get a seller that's wanting to meet you. They're few and far between. Like it's not that easy. So so like, building out that system, I feel like it might be unnecessary work because you just don't get
So then,
many
yeah.
cold.
So then it's
Yeah.
it's just basically I'll put you in contact with my partner,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll work something out.
I try really hard not to overthink things, and just I frankly just don't get that many face to faces from a cold call or a text.
I'm a guy that like sees in the moment, right? Like, so if the guy's willing to meet, let's set something up now, because 2 days from now, shit may change.
Well, yeah, he could.
But I understand what you're saying.
Somebody else could call him and meet him the same day.
Right.
So if you're not willing to do that, then you could lose a deal.
Thank you.
Hey, Valerie, before I forget, can you take a screenshot or anything so we can?
Yeah, for sure. I like to do that halfway through because we've got the big
Oh,
group here. So yeah, if you want to turn your cameras on, we'll take a nice screenshot here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect.
Hey, Joe, I had a quick question too, just about areas. I know obviously you're focused on Kansas City, and that's a fantastic market, but have you looked at other areas in the Midwest close to you or within neighboring states?
yeah, I have. So I also invest in Wichita, Kansas area. It's been a good cash flowing market for us. It's been really good, actually. I have about 100 doors there or so. And then Springfield, Missouri. Springfield's a good market too. Again, another good cash flowing. These are growing markets that are kind of they're I don't know. I think they'd probably be considered tertiary. They both have Wichita, I think, is it's over 500,000 population, and Springfield's just under 500,000, and they're both about 2.5 hours from Kansas City. But they're both growing, so they're just not growing at like the same pace as Kansas City or
Well, and both those areas
Austin.
have universities in them too, right? I mean, both of them,
yeah.
Wichita,
Both.
yeah. So I mean, it's certainly not, it's an established city or town, right? So okay.
Right. Yeah, and I think other ones around, like I'm just thinking around Kansas City, Omaha is a good one. So is Des Moines, Iowa. Those are good. Like step below, because Kansas City's like, I don't know exactly. It depends on what you consider the MSA, but 2 million to 2.5 million people, and they're just a tier below, but still good. Their rents aren't that much below. I'll tell you that. So like, you can buy at a lower basis. You're not going to get the same cap rate if you're planning on exiting. But the beauty about like my investment philosophy is don't plan on exiting, or not anytime soon, so you don't have to worry about your cap rate of exit as much. You're more worried about your refi, how quickly you can get your capital back, and then you're holding on to it for a long time. So
Yeah,
So
it's
I
interesting you
that's-
mentioned the Des Moines, Iowa market because I've been doing research on it for the last 6 months. It's got some pretty good deals and some pretty good numbers. And you're right, the rents are pretty solid there. It just looks like a very solid cash flowing city in particular.
Yeah, I would definitely consider Des Moines. I just haven't had a need to really branch out too far, so
Right.
so
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much shiny object syndrome.
Of course.
But
Right.
yeah, I think Des Moines is a good one.
Hey, Joe, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So when you were considering leaving your W-2, like retiring, are you receiving a pension at all? Are you and or are your wife real estate professionals? How do you help or assist with monthly bills and cash flow and survival?
It's all cash flow. that pays the bills. Cash
And do you take like
flow.
I guess you do monthly distributions for yourselves and your partners?
Yeah, it's all distributions from cash flow, some asset management fees on the syndications, and but yeah, no, we don't have I don't have a pension, anything like that. We are we're real estate professionals now, so we don't pay much, if anything, in tax anymore. So that doesn't hurt. We got massive losses on the properties we buy, so um, that's been nice. But yeah, it's all cash flow. I mean, that's most of you guys know Gino. He preaches that pretty hard, like life for cash flow.
And does your monthly income vary greatly?
Yes. No, it should not greatly, but it does vary. A few $1,000s a month, just up and down. Just kind of the nature of a deal doesn't have a great month, so you don't distribute as much. But then if you do a refi, then you get a big pop. So it kind of balances out.
That's awesome, man. And do you have any other sources like streams of income coming in besides real estate at this time, you and or your wife?
No, that's it.
It's awesome, man. Thank you.
Sounds like Nico's making a move.
Yeah, I wish. I think about it every day, but I'm not there yet. But when it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and you all will know.
Awesome.
It will happen sooner than you think, my friend.
Eric, you are Mr. Positivity. I love it and I believe it, and I'm gonna repeat it in my head all day, every day.
There you go. That's all. That's the first step, man.
Come on, more questions?
Yeah, don't everybody fight at once.
Let me ask you, Joe, about the direct to seller.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a VA. I'm gonna have a script for her. We're gonna role play quite a bit. And what are some of the top objections? Because we're gonna role play, right? So I role play with everything. Hell, in our office, we're role playing all the time. We role play a couple hours a week, at least, on the phones and everything. So what are some of the top objections that you're coming up with, of course, yeah, people might cuss you out or hang up on you and whatnot, but what are some other top objections, and how should we answer it?
Well, the biggest one, when if you can finally get to somebody who has any interest at all in selling or even would talk to you, is taxes. Like a lot of these people have owned these for 10, 20 years, and they don't understand how so they're going to sell it and they're going to take this big capital gain. So
Right.
that's usually the biggest pushback is, well, yeah, I would consider selling it for that price, but I'm gonna have no interest in paying Uncle Sam that much money right now. So that's what I mean, creative financing and being able to explain that. I think people who are going to be able to explain the benefits for the seller. Obviously, we know how to structure the benefits for us as buyers. Like that's easy. You just you do the underwriting and you can get really creative, but how, like, to put yourself in their shoes. Okay, I'm gonna have a $2 million capital gain. Explain to me how it's going to benefit me. How, how
Okay.
can you save me money? So that'd be the biggest. If you can figure that out and be a pro in that, then I think that there's going to be some big opportunities.
So how would you say it?
I mean, candidly, I struggle with this. I mean, it's really like it's a deferred tax, so like, you're talking about seller financing $2 million. So you're gonna be able to tax plan better, essentially. So you're gonna be able to plan. You're gonna have to pay it. They're gonna have to pay it eventually, and they're gonna pay it on
Right.
the interest. So it's just a matter of, you'll have the ability to to tax plan with your CPA, and we can do it. We can do it creatively over however many years you need. You need that to take place. But yeah,
Now,
I
say
mean,
if someone's if they've never heard it before, like if I'm the person selling it, right? And I'll be like, Joe, that sounds crazy. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make $2 million on it. I'm not about to pay $800,000 on this tax bill.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of them shut down. Confused minds say no, I think, is what a lot of the
Right.
saying is, right? So that's I would say I'm not an expert in that. I've tried to explain it to sellers, and I feel like I over explained it, or those are probably some of the ones that I've lost, is where I just wasn't able to educate them on that. So if you can master that.
Okay, so if that's the objection, what if you say, hey, Joe, you know what? That's okay. I completely understand. Most people have the same question. I actually created a video that I'm going to text to you. And within 5 minutes, I'll explain to you all the multiple ways that we can really forego this tax. And you just bring it upon your CPA, and maybe we can connect again in a couple of weeks.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's great.
Has anyone ever put together like a simple video, a layout, a PowerPoint, something that you could just crank out and be like, boom, here it is? Like, because I would imagine that there's top 5 objections. Like there's a million objections, right?
Yeah.
But really, when it comes down to it, when I train with people, I say there's like top 3 to 5. And if you nail down that top 3 to 5 and you can follow up, then you're locked in, right? Because no one else is doing that. Unless
Alex,
everyone else is doing it.
Do you do that on the first call itself, or if first to get to know a little bit, then when you meet in person, then you proceed with talking about the tax benefit, actual numbers, and showing options?
Well, I think it'd be better if you got to build a relationship first. However, a lot of times these guys aren't dummies, so they're just going to tell you right off the bat, like, yeah, I would sell, but I don't want to pay tax right now. So like, that's like, so sometimes that's your first call or second call is hey, like, don't call, don't bug me about this until I can figure out this. But to Alex, to your point, I've never seen anything like that. So I'm sure there's some, I would imagine there's something, but I've never seen anything that like really, because I mean, I hate to say, for lack of better terms, it's got to be dumbed down. Like it's got to be
right,
very simple.
Yeah. What if we could dumb it down?
Right.
Right. What if we could dumb it down and say, do it within 5 minutes? If I can get 5 minutes of your time to watch this video, I'm going to text it to you right now. And I'll follow up with you in about 2 days or 3 days. And say, hey, you know what, Joe? If that doesn't make sense and it's not ready, that's okay. But then if it is, would it be okay if we have a chat again?
Yeah, I like that.
Right. Or if that is the biggest objection, what if I start off with the phone? Hey, Joe, this is Alex. I know a lot of people who own apartments have the biggest obstacle is the tax bill. If I can show you how to tackle that in 5 minutes or less, would you have 60 seconds to hop on a call with me or something like that?
Yeah,
right.
That's good.
I don't know if that's a first objection. I'm just taking the things that I know in other calls and then plop it into this.
Yeah. especially if you can pre-screen them, like when when you're calling these guys, if you know they've owned it for say 20 years, there's a high likelihood that they have minimal debt on it. Now, if they've only owned it for a few years, then having a discussion about seller financing is kind of worthless.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't think you want to lead with you're calling somebody who's owned a property for 3 years. I don't think you want to lead with that. I think it's a different discussion because they're gonna have a lot of debt on it still.
So what would you so someone who hasn't owned it for a long time, what is their biggest objection?
Usually it's that they're not ready to sell.
They're just
timing.
not ready to sell.
That's why I mean usually when I do my list, it's usually owners who've owned for 10 or more years. So like those are the ones you really I want to target. But like I also do targeted ones where if I'm drive by, like I really like that property. I'm gonna look up that owner. I'm gonna call him and have no idea how long they've owned it, but I'm gonna call him and see if there's a chance because I want to get on his radar. So I do that sometimes too.
Would you dig up some stuff on them from social media and then send them something? Hey,
I
I know
actually
you like some Jayhawk games.
Yeah, no, yes, look them up if you can find them on Facebook or LinkedIn or something. I mean,
Alex, what you're talking about is the time-old tradition of Facebook stalking before you get on the call,
Oh,
right?
huge. Huge.
There's nothing
My
better.
VAs do that all the time.
Yeah,
My VAs do it all day. If there's a potential partner, I said, you two dig up some stuff. I want two separate reports and come back. Yeah, I'm not joking.
The Don of the VAs over here. That's true. It's so true, right?
Yeah.
That's how you find out about people.
Because then two people might dig up different things.
Alex, I think you're onto something though on the seller financing objections. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, because any objections, if you can hit it head on and be able to show people how to explain it in an easy way and with technology, right? Where they just pull up a YouTube video. Everyone has YouTube. You pull up YouTube video. Oh, wow. The video might start like, hey, this is Alex. I just spoke to you on the phone. Or, hey, this is Alex. My associate just spoke to you on the phone. And then you have, if I could knock out 5 videos and it hits all the objections, whatever objections they have, it's the same script. Hey, Joe, no, I completely understand. Thank you for sharing that. Would it be okay if I shot you over a 5-minute video? You take 5 minutes of your time. And it's the same, they say the same thing. You're just shooting out a different video.
I think that works, Alex, honestly. Like when you and Joe were talking about it earlier, I was trying to sit here and put myself in the position of that seller.
Right.
And I felt, me internally, I felt my guard completely come down when you were speaking about sending me a PDF of a flowchart and keeping it really simple, right, Kiss?
Yeah.
3 minutes, do you have 3 minutes to just look at this and it'll explain everything on a high level. And if you want more details, we can jump on another call and I can walk you through it.
Yeah.
But to plant that seed, absolutely. I wouldn't start the call off with that. But when the objection got raised, or when we started talking about, are you willing to sell? And there's that hesitation. Well, what's the hesitation? I'm sensing hesitation. Do you have concerns? I know the last call I had, or the last property I just purchased, the seller had this concern, or the owner. I like owner as opposed to seller, but the owner had this concern about taxes. They were going to take a really large tax hit, and we structured the deal this way to help them out. So things along those lines. But I absolutely think that you're onto something big. And I like the video portion of it, because the video, I can talk to somebody on the phone, but the video is the next best thing to actually doing what Joe does and sit across the table from them. Because I get to pick up on your personality, your tone, your cadence, all of that.
Right. Because we do that at the office when people's not sure. Because then we do that at the office. Hey, let me send you a link to whatever condition. You take a look at it, come back to me. For the VAs, it's the same thing. Let me send you a PDF. Let me show you what a VA can do. And I would imagine this DTS thing, I mean, people are people, right? And if you can treat them in a way where you can make it understandable. I always say a fifth grade information. If a fifth grader can understand this, now they can understand this, because, you know, if they can't, then it's over.
I'm doing in the preschool, I'm doing the same thing. I'm creating videos for all the different things that has to be done. And that's working with my team. So if it's working with the team, I feel it's definitely going to work on the outside, right? Like I can take that and apply that somewhere else, because human psychology is human psychology.
Right.
Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter who you are. Human psychology is human psychology.
Joe, I think we're onto something here, man.
I love it.
Let's get together. I put this studio together for a reason. I'm ready to film some videos, man.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I love it. That's been the largest challenge. I mean, other than getting the screw you and, you know, you get hung up all the time on, but aside from that, if you get somebody who's actually like, oh yeah, but if you got to solve this problem for me, like that's kind of, you know, it's like a big eye roll for most of the people, and then try to explain, you know, me trying to explain it, and I'm like, oh, I just screwed that up.
Then we could put a Facebook ad together.
That.
We put a Facebook ad together that hits up all the apartment owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's I think the reason it's probably the biggest objection that I get is because I do target people who've owned for 10 years or more. So like, you know, if I was talking to more people who they just bought 2 or 3 years ago, it wouldn't be as big of a discussion point. But I try not to.
But they're not ready to sell, right? They just got it.
Yeah.
They haven't even stabilized yet sometimes.
Right.
Okay.
To your question earlier, Alex, I think that if I owned the apartment building for, I don't know, 1 to 3 years, my biggest pain point right now is going to be I didn't purchase it properly. And I'm facing those finance contingency things, whether it's coming at a bridge and going the permanent financing or whatever that debt structure is. So if I can solve your debt structure problem so that you walk away from this deal without a bankruptcy or without a significant hit kind of to your credit worthiness, then that may be something to explore.
Yeah, that's like a distressed seller list, which is good too. You know, if you can create a list for people who bought bridge loans over the last 3 years, there's going to be some people in trouble for sure.
Didn't they somebody just put up that Arbor on one of our chats, Alex, that Arbor just took back like 300 million or 225 million worth of property, worth of loans. So
yeah, I saw that too, Neil. It was like in 4 different properties or states or something like that.
I think it was 4 different properties, all in Texas.
Right.
They went in and they had to take it over, and now they're looking. I want to say it was 225 million worth of loans, and they were looking to offload it at like 195 million or something.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Yeah.
So see, how do you solve that problem?
That's listen.
bridge.
You asked to identify the problems.
Well, yeah, because then if I can identify the problem, if I can help you solve it, I can get the deal.
There's definitely people. There are definitely people that do not subscribe to the philosophy that everybody in this room subscribes to, and that's buying right and financing right, right? So they overstep their boundaries, and now they're going to be in a rock and a hard place. And if we could figure out how to go in and negotiate that, then we're going to be in a far superior position. over everybody else, not taking advantage of those individuals, but we're going to be in a far superior position over other buyers because we can now come in here and work through those waters.
Right.
Because there's plenty of bridge out there that was they underwrote to we're gonna end up having permanent financing it a crazy number like 5%, and now their finance is looking like 7%, and they can't handle it. They don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, they just have to be in a position where they're comfortable selling at a loss or net zero. I mean, I think that's definitely going to be distressed situations. I mean, I'm in another mastermind, and I know a guy who raised capital for a group, and it's in Austin, and they're in a situation where they're really close to just cutting bait basically and selling at a net zero because these guys took on a bridge floater with no cap, and they're in trouble. And he was like, yeah, we're thinking about just selling at zero because we don't want to lose money. Like,
And are
And the
there
next-
other creative ways to do that besides selling at zero that you guys know of? I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Like if
So I
somebody
don't
says,
know
hey,
if-
sell at zero, but I said, hey, I got
I
this.
don't know of any, but I'm very confident that there are. Right, you just have to speak to the right person, and
Right.
it goes back to Vlad put up in the chat following a guy called Pace Morby, and
Yeah.
that's literally what he does. So when nobody else can pay you $400,000 for your property, I come in and I can structure the deal so that I can pay you that $400,000. So there has to be certain ways of doing it. Like, so for example, one of the I was just on a call with somebody, and they were telling me that they're taking. They have 32 units. It's 4 8-plexes, and they're taking 1 8-plex on that multifamily property. They're taking that 1 8-plex and they're turning it into corporate rentals because the corporate rental market there is so strong, and that's so typically they're doubling their rents, but they're not doubling the expense. Like they have to pay for all the expenses, but their expenses aren't going up. So they're increasing their profit margin on that specific property by 15%, 20%, just because of the corporate rental component of it. So if nobody else is thinking along those lines, and you can squeeze more out of the property, like that's just one thought of how you may be able to get them out at break even so that they keep their credit worthiness, because that's what's going to be important to me as the seller, right? Like I want to come back and do this again, but I don't want to take that hit. So if you could save me from taking that hit, I'm going to be grateful for that. And on your end, you may be able to come in and do something like that. Like I'm just throwing stuff against the wall right now.
Has anyone done the Pace Morby sub 2 group?
Honestly, Alex, you know what? I agree with Neil. I would turn 25 to 50% of it, if you could, into short-term rentals, whether that be corporate rentals, whether it be traveling health employees, if there's a hospital next to the facility, or the apartment building, education, if there's a university or colleges in the area. And then my second call would be to Michael Sanchez, because he is part of that sub 2 group, and he would know how to creatively finance this deal. That would be my first call that I would make, in addition to implementing the strategy that actually Neil said, because again, you're doing nothing but increasing the income. You're not necessarily reducing the expenses. You're just turning that into more of a cash flow deal. And I thought that that's where your question was leading, because I figured you'd probably had a little chit chat with him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you should look into it." I started watching Pace Morby videos. I'm like, man.
I know they're addicting. He got me into him too. It's like a drug now. I know.
Dude, I have my son. I'm actually paying. I'm paying my son to watch. He came out with
I think your son to watch.
Ultimate VA right there. That's a delegation right there.
Somebody,
right. That's a VA
somebody
move.
just I think it was in this group. I think it was last. Somebody mentioned Pace Morby had a master class, and he's got like 20 videos, and it's a master class of what seller financing is, what sub 2 is, and they're anywhere from 30 to an hour long. And yeah, like my son wanted some parts for his engine. I'm like, I'll foot the parts, but you have to give me, you have to watch these videos and give me a report back on them. And he's like,
You should
hold on,
have him
you'll
watch
pay for
those
my-
videos
yeah.
and then do a video
yes.
report.
Like
on
I
those
told him, like,
videos.
you could give it to me any way you want, like the information, and whatever resonates with you. If you want to write it out, you want to do a video, whatever it is. But yeah, and that's what he's doing. Like, he's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, so I can't wait till his parts get here, because they're gonna sit there like in a pile, and they're just gonna be like a magnet. He's gonna want to touch them, and he's not gonna be allowed to until. Oh, hold on a second. One video, all right, you get like the carburetor. Another video, you get a radiator hose. Like, but it's a win-win all the way around.
That's what I need to do. That's what I need to do with Addie. Have her watch something and read a book, and then have her do a video report. Don't have a written report. I'm trying to get her more comfortable in front of the camera, and it's hard. I'm like, hey, look over here. And she's like, ah.
So yeah,
Like,
then just tell her I need a 2-minute video on this.
I like that. I
And
like that.
Then create whatever that reward system is.
Yes.
Like, listen, you want to go out for ice cream this weekend?
Tell me,
You
a
wanna have a-
2-minute video on why you want ice cream. Shit.
Yeah, like you could even do that, right? If it's just about getting comfortable in front of the camera.
Yes. I love it. All right. Wow.
So
We're getting parenting skills here too.
Valerie gives it all.
That's
Yeah,
right.
the group, we get all kinds of varieties. It's awesome.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing all that, guys. And Joe, thank you for sharing your insight.
Yeah,
on,
thanks for
on
having me.
this.
It was fun.
Yeah, Joe, it was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for educating us and helping us out, and just giving a little more insight into your business as well.
Yeah, thanks,
If
Joe.
I can help with it any way, let me know, guys. I mean, I know most of you guys on here, but here, I'll leave my cell phone in here in the chat.
I'll definitely schedule something with you, Joe.
Yeah,
We're
let's
gonna
do it.
chat more about this follow-up video system.
Get some good deals for everybody.
That's it.
All right. Well, I appreciate each of you hopping on today. I hope you guys have a fantastic Easter weekend, and we'll see you all next week.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah, everyone have a good weekend.
See you guys later.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy
Bye,
Easter.
guys. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.